As a boy with racing dreams calls the engines to life at Road America, a man who once dreamed those dreams, Juan Fangio, could be about to see his come true. With victories in 5 of the first 10 races of the year, Fangio has carried his Toyota team into the lead for the IMSA Camel GT Championship. A competitor's race day misfortune has brought those dreams one step closer to reality. For Fangio and team owner Dan Gurney, history awaits. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speedworld. Road America in the hills of central Wisconsin hosts the potentially clinching round of the 1992 Camel GT Championship, the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. Here in the heart of Wisconsin vacation country, it is a steamy 90 degrees, and that will make this track both hot and slippery. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha. Welcome once again to our highlighted coverage of the International Motorsports Association. The Camel GT Series arrived here on the shores of Elkhart Lake, anticipating a one-on-one shootout for the 92 title between Juan Fangio and Davy Jones, the man who held the points lead until round 9 in Laguna Seca, California. That will not happen. In the warm-up for today's race on one of the fastest parts of the circuit, Jones suffered a left front wheel failure that pitched his Jaguar off the racetrack, over the guardrail, and very nearly into the trees. A very scary moment indeed. It's not the first time Jones has had wheel trouble. It happened at Lime Rock, Connecticut on Memorial Day weekend. And it's not the first time Jones's title hopes came awry here at Road America. A year ago, while leading this race, Jones spun off the track and dropped into a three-way battle for the title that he eventually lost to four-time champion Jeff Brabham. Jones was taken to the infield hospital and released, after which he talked with our pit reporter for today's race, Marty Reed.
First off, I noticed the ice pack. What's the damage?
Well, it's just, you know, the seat belts, they did their job, and you know, usual, if you have a heavy impact like that, it just you know, gets your muscles in your shoulders. But ice pack, a few Motrin, to be all right.
Otherwise, you're okay?
Yeah, it's just, it's real disappointing, you know. It's Lime Rock all over again, and you know, we felt that we had a very good car, good race car, and you know, we needed to win this race to keep in hopes for the championship, and you know, so that's that.
I was going to ask you if this was similar to Lime Rock suspension piece let go.
Well, it's really hard to say just what it was at this point, but you know, for me, it was just an instant replay of what happened at Lime Rock. So
went away so fast you had no chance to recover.
Yeah, just, you know, you going through a carousel like that, it's fourth gear, and you know, all the load is on the left front, and when something breaks, you have nowhere to go except, you know, straight off the track. So.
And so the field rolls off for a very different kind of race, lacking one of the chief protagonists for the 1992 title. With me to provide analysis today, a man who has won this race twice before, ESPN road racing analyst David Hobbs. David, what's going through Juan's mind now, knowing Davy is out?
Well, you know, fun enough, Bob, I think it's going to make it worse rather than better, because it's kind of like getting a pit signal halfway through a race when you're racing with somebody, you know, heavy. He's suddenly gone, and the pit signal comes out and says easy. From that moment on, the last thing it gets is easy, because you suddenly start hearing noises, and it's easy to make mistakes, because as you ease off and tend not to drive at your absolute peak of concentration, that's when things start to go wrong. So it could be a bit of a tough afternoon for Fangio instead of a real breeze.
Well, we'll watch what happens. Let's turn for a moment to the Camel Lights class. We'll be racing simultaneously with the big GTP cars. Parker Johnstone, with his 12th straight pole in class, could be closing in on another title.
Well, he's certainly looking very strong, Bob, but I think that's where we're going to see a lot of the action this afternoon, because quite frankly, P.J. Jones and Fangio in the two Toyotas, I think, are going to disappear away from Jeff Brabham. And we could have a big race this afternoon in that Camel Lights division. They usually do put a pretty good show on. I don't see why they won't here.
Now, while the cars are on the track warming tires and engines, it's a good opportunity to take a closer look at one of the most awesome circuits in all the world, Road America, courtesy of Fermin Velez and the Norwegian Cruise Line Scania Buick Kudzu.
As he goes past the start-finish line, coming down into turn 1 in the Camel Light car, doing about 150 miles an hour, down to fourth gear. Nice tight apex you on here. Trying not to kick up too much dirt on the outside. Downhill run here to turn 2. Hangs on to fourth. This is a very important corner because it leads on to this central straightaway. You'll take fifth going under the bridge here. Up to maximum speed again. Again, the road going slightly downhill as it goes into the trees. And this is where the guys are going to be lining up to do any out-braking as they come into the notorious turn 5. boom, hard on the brake, down to second gear, wheels just on the point of blocking. Missed the apex there a little bit, actually. Snatches thirds, he goes up to sixth, uphill, over the top, back to second for sixth. Another one you want to make a tight apex, you'll short shift here into fourth. Right here before seven, because otherwise you're right on the edge of the engine as you're trying to go to the corner. Down into turn 8, another place where we may well see some overtaking. Now it's leading into the awesome carousel. This is where Davy Jones went off this morning. You can see how little road there is on the left. So I mean, just lifting out a little bit there, I would have thought the Camel light might have been able to hang right in there. A lot of G-forces going through that corner. Really developed some heavy, heavy G-load. Now the King here did not lift hardly at all. Absolutely flat stick through there, probably in his car about 130 miles an hour as he goes along the bottom straight through the trees and how close they are to the track. When I first race here, no guardrail. Hard on the brakes for Canada corner. Third gear. Under the bridge. Very dangerous corner. It's blind. As you exit, he'll go right to the edge of the road. A lot of people put a wheel on the dirt there as he comes into the last corner, turn 14. Again, you've got to make a good shot of this one because you've got a long, long uphill straight. And you're going to have some overtaking going into turn 1. You really want to come onto this straight strongly.
David mentioned the speeds the Camel Lights cars like this one will hit. Keep in mind the GTP machines will be edging over 180 miles an hour, and speed differential between the two classes is what the Camel GT Series is all about. Stay with us. Green flag coming up next. Our ESPN Speedworld coverage of the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America is brought to you by Toyo Tires. No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z. Toyo Tires. And by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor world. We'll be back to introduce the starting grid when we return to Elkhart Lake.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
You know, I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quaker State. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quaker State and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
Move over Van Damme and Seagal. Brandon Lee has arrived. Brandon Lee is just as exciting, intense, and charismatic as his legendary father, Bruce Lee. Rapid Fire.
Are you having a bad day or what?
Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Son of a gun protectant. Nothing works better on your car's leather, vinyl, and rubber. It can turn just about anything into a great-looking car.
Nice car.
What, this pile of junk? Give it the gun. STP Son of a Gun.
Back in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Bob Barsha, David Hobbs, and Marty Reed with you for the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. Now let's take a look at our starting lineup with the help of our Sears Die Hard starting grid. On the pole, Juan Fangio, the man who would be champion with a record lap 4 seconds under the old mark. Next to him is Toyota teammate P.J. Jones, who won the most recent round at Portland, Oregon. On row 2, Davy Jones will not start, so Jeff Brabham, the former 4-time series champion, will be all alone. On row 3, Tommy Kendall is back in the Chevrolet GTP after a 1-race absence. Next to him, Bryce Cobb in a newly redesigned Mazda, new aerodynamics at the rear of the car. On row 4, Oscar Larari sharing with John Winter in a Porsche 962. Next to them, Pete Halsmer in the second Mazda GTP. On row number 5, Gianpiero Moretti of Italy will start his Porsche co-driving with former series champion John Paul Jr. Next to them, the Camel Lights pole sitter Parker Johnstone co-driving with Dan Marvin on their 12th straight pole. They'll have their teammates, Ruggero Melgrati and Wayne Taylor, in another car trying to keep the Camel Lights field at bay. Charles Morgan and co-driver Tommy Riggins will have a Buick-powered kudzu machine next to Fermin Velez, the former world champion in these types of cars, co-driving with Andy Evans. Tim McAdam will share with former 3-time Camel Lights champion Jim Downing on row 7. On row 8, Bob Shader and 1988 Camel Lights champion Tom Hessert, alongside John Grooms and Frank Jelinek in a Mazda-powered kudzu chassis. Our onboard camera rides along with Fermin Velez back in 13th starting spot, and the high speeds of this track has really separated the lights from the GTP cars, David Hobbs.
Absolutely. Between the fastest light and the pole position, there's nearly 20-mile-an-hour difference in the average speed, so they're going to have two very separate races this afternoon. The Toyotas side by side there going into turn 1.
Touching down into the first corner. And Fangio takes the lead. There's Oscar Larori in the white Porsche, slotting just ahead of Tommy Kendall, dropping back in the Chevy.
Oscar Larori qualified well in what is now pretty much of an outdated car, really.
We see the Camel Lights cars jockeying. On board again with Fermin Velez, trying to make his way up. He's right on the tail of one of the Acura Spices.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought he'd slip under the wing there and draft this car all the way down to the turn 5 corner. See there, the Spice pulling away just a little bit on one of these key straights here at Elkhart Lake. 3 of them, really, which are all very long, very fast. Hard on the brakes, down a second for the turn 5 corner.
Up front, the 99 of Juan Fangio leads his teammate in 98, P.J. Jones. Then Jeff Brabham in the red, white, and blue Nissan, Ferrari, and Price Cobb, who's gotten around Tommy Kendall for 5th.
Yeah, he's doing well in that Mazda. It sounds absolutely the cream of the crop here. There's no doubt about it. As it winds through these trees, it sounds magnificent. Meanwhile, 99 in that long, hard carousel. These cars have got tremendous downforce. Through there, a real neck stretcher of a corner there.
Just watch them whistle through this corner. Good battle developing now between Larari and the white Porsche and the silver Mazda of Cobb. And look at the gap that the Toyotas are already opening up over the field.
Yeah, poor old Jeff Brabham opined before the race started. He had a horrible feeling he was going to be just a bit lonely this afternoon. Was looking forward to a race and wasn't going to get much, he thought.
Here comes the Camel Lights battle. Johnstone leading Melgrati, and then this man, Fermin Velez of Spain.
Fermin has already picked up a couple of spots, which you'd expect. Fermin is very, very quick in that Camel Light car as the Toyota sweeps under the bridge.
Toyota's running 1 and 2 as they finished in the 2 most recent rounds of Laguna Seca, California and Portland, Oregon. The first time in history that a manufacturer had back-to-back 1-2 sweeps.
Oscar Larori in the number 7 Porsche, still leading Price Cobb, and Tommy Kendall in the Chevrolet.
And just behind Kendall is the silver sister Mazda of Pete Halsmer, moving up to challenge for 6th. Up front, it is Toyota and Toyota, but keep in mind, the brand has never won here before at Road America. The leader is Juan Manuel Fangio II, and we'll be back to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
If you can't wait, you need the news weekly of motoring, Auto Week. If you can't wait for driving impressions, get Auto Week. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. If you can't wait for car news, get Auto Week. Auto Week covers it all. The great old cars, the auto shows. Auto Week's columnists are controversial and fast. And if you can't wait for racing news, get the News Weekly of Motoring. Auto Week races to bring you the winningest coverage first. If you can't wait, get Auto Week, the News Weekly of Motoring, now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for a full year. 52 issues at the special TV price of $19.95. Just 38 cents an issue. Save $80 off the cover price. You've thought about it. Stop waiting. Do it now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for the News Weekly of Motoring.
Get hooked every Saturday morning on ESPN Outdoors. It's an adventure you won't want to miss. Explore the world's best fishing holes and hunting grounds. Learn how the pros don't let the big one get away. Experience ESPN Outdoors every Saturday morning on ESPN.
Slicing down through the middle of the 4-mile Road America circuit, Juan Fangio looking for his first Camel GT championship. He leads his Toyota teammate P.J. Jones looking for his second straight Camel GT victory. Now here's the Camel Lights battle. The two Acura Spices of Parker Johnstone and Gerald Melgrati being followed by Fermin Velez and his teammate Charles Morgan.
As usual, the Lights putting on a good show as Parker Johnstone pulls out of turn 8 and into that carousel. Long, hard corner. There's terrific strain and stress on the car and the driver, especially on a hot day like today.
These two Acura Spices look very much alike, but they're quite different. The team has been experimenting with rear-end aerodynamics. They have a two-tiered rear wing on that second car in line, being driven by Ruggero Melgrati. The first car also has carbon-on-carbon brakes. The second one has steel brakes. Back on board again with Fermin Velez.
As he watches those two Acura Spices in the distance there, going down to counter the corner, and Morgan goes around the inside of Fermin Velez.
Charles Morgan from Conway, Arkansas, goes underneath the former world champion and drops him back to 4th in class.
After that bridge there, terrific lead fast corner, that blind, and into the pits is Tommy Kendall.
Definitely early unscheduled stop for Tom Kendall. This team passed up the most recent round in Portland, and what we're hearing is that there's a right front vibration. You see the team going right for that right front corner. Could be a tire, may have shaken off a balancing wheel weight. Could be problems with the suspension, or maybe just a rooted tire. Meanwhile, back on the track,
teammates running pretty close together here as well. Camel Light division, they go swooping through turn 1.
And Charles Morgan beginning to close up on the two Acura Spice teammates. There's Parker Johnstone, the defending Lights champion, and a man who's on an incredible qualifying run. 12 straight poles in class, including all 11 in the 1992 season.
Cheery looking fellow in that picture, isn't he?
Now notice Fermin Velez going for that red knob underneath the word Buick. That's the brake bias control. He must be having problems, David.
Well, he can change the brake balance from the front to the rear, and there goes Melgrati past Parker Johnstone in one of the Acura Spices into turn 5.
There you can see the difference in the wings on the rear of the two Acura cars. The two-tiered one up front and the single element one on the back.
Charles Morgan also very close to Parker Johnstone now as they go through 6 and come into 7. In fact, he's close enough here that he could probably make a passing attempt sooner or later.
Morgan down the inside.
I think it'd be quite that soon, yeah.
Quite sooner. And Morgan just drives away from the defending series champion. On board now with Fermin Velez as he pulls up to give Parker Johnstone problems.
Parker Johnstone must be having some sort of a problem. And there you see the dust kicked up as the chassis touched the floor going through the carousel there. A lot of downforce. The ground clearance probably closes up an inch and a half through that corner. Through the kink. This is the place where Davy Jones back in '86 had a huge crash.
Ruggero Melgrati of Milan, Italy pulls away. It was the team's strategy to use him as a bit of a rabbit. Marty Reed has more with crew chief Doug Peterson.
The inside line was that you were going to send one of the cars out as a rabbit, particularly the 48, and so far the strategy seems to be working. You've got one of the Scandia cars chasing.
Well, actually we hadn't planned on doing that. We're hoping to keep both cars ahead of them the whole race, make it real simple. But it's a long, hot race, and I think tire conservation will play into it. So we decided that Ruggero felt like he could go faster comfortably, so we went in and let him go. And Parker's dropped back, and he'll just bide his time and see how things go as the race progresses.
Well, it appears Charles Morgan is going to go after Melgrati, so we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Tommy Kendall's back in the pits. Marty Reed is down in the Chevy GTP stall.
Well, Tom Kendall says the vibration is still there. In fact, you can feel it all the way up through the steering wheel. So they are going to go to work changing all 4 tires and send him out again, because all they changed on the last stop was the right front. So this will be a chance for them to find out if it was a tire out of balance, out of round, or if it's something in the suspension.
It's been a tough year for the Chevy GTP team. It has been since Tommy Kendall's big crash at Watkins Glen last year. We hear that Kendall may be in line for Richard Petty's NASCAR stock car ride. Back with the Camel Lights battle. There's Parker Johnstone, 3rd in class, followed by Fermin Velez, and the race leader, Juan Fangio, coming up quickly.
Yeah, we're about to see him go past our matches. They go down into turn 8, and Fermin Velez gets right up. He must have a problem with his brakes there, because he's just about pushed the 99 car out of contention. Now you watch coming here how he moves his hand round on the steering wheel to get a better grip so that he doesn't run out of leverage as he goes through this long, hard corner. And as he exits it, he'll move his hand back up the steering wheel.
The overall race leaders overtaking the leaders in the Camel Lights class. As David mentioned earlier, there's a cool 20-mile-an-hour speed differential between the two types of cars. Charles Morgan on the right being lapped by Juan Fangio, who will then set his sights on Ruggero Melgrati. There goes Fermin Velez with those brake problems. Fangio just rockets away from the Lights cars.
Difficult place to overtake there as they go under that bridge too, because the road meanders around a little bit. Difficult for the fast cars to weave their way past the slightly slower ones as the 99 car swoops up onto Melgrati on the main straight. That's the place to pass them, of course.
Melgrati, a two-time winner at this racetrack. Juan Fangio leads. P.J. Jones runs second. It's a Toyota kind of day here at Road America. We'll be back for more.
Hey, I know how you feel. Your weight is up, your energy's down, your self-esteem's low, your blood pressure's high. You know what you need? Exercise. But who has the time? You do. Just imagine what a difference you can make in just 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week with Nordic Track. Nordic Track. They call it the world's best aerobic exercise. Nordic Track's patented flywheel provides smooth, non-jarring continuity of motion, so there's no stress to your back or knees. Your total body gets into the action. That's not true with ordinary exercisers. Nordic Track's total body workout burns more calories. You'll lose weight, reduce stress, and feel better. I'll bet you never imagined fitness at home could be this easy. Now is the time to get rid of that unfit body.
Create a new you.
Try Nordic Track for 30 days at home with no risk or obligation.
You'll see and feel the difference.
Call for a free video and brochure.
ESPN brings you a new way to look at sports when you can't get to your TV. The ESPN Radio Network. Watch for us this weekend on the radio.
The Nissan Grand Prix of Road America continues, and through the heat haze of a 90-degree day come the Toyota teammates, Juan Fangio and P.J. Jones.
P.J. Jones running pretty close to his teammate there, because I'm sure the team are going to want Fangio to win this race. P.J. winning just a couple of weeks ago up in Portland, Oregon. So that seems a bit close. You know, you just never know in a race car.
Excuse me, David, trouble in the pits. There goes the Chevy GTP headed behind the wall, and it's not Tommy Kendall driving. It's a mechanic. Their woes continue, and their day is done here at Road America. Now, they were having vibration problems at the right front corner. Marty Reed is standing by with Tommy Kendall to find out what has put them out of this race. Marty?
Before the start of the race, we thought it might be the motor that would be the weak link. What happened?
Something in the right front corner started going away. There was a grating sound and something like a bearing going away. They couldn't find anything here. They thought it was a bent wheel and went back out, and it was still there. So we decided at that point there was nothing to be gained, so we parked it.
I know the frustration level's just got to be burning inside you.
Yeah, what can you do? You know, you come out here and you bust your tail all weekend, and we had 3 perfect days of practice without a hitch at all, and then boom, all of a sudden when the chips were down and qualifying in the race, we can't seem to do anything right.
The only thing left to do now is to go down to the dock and see if Gibbs would possibly slide into the bar.
Well, in contrast to the Chevy situation, Toyota has had a miserable couple of days of practice and qualifying. Now the race seems to be working very well. Fangio and teammate Jones running 1-2, and nobody else in sight, although Jeff Brabham in the Nissan doing the best he can back in third.
Jones seems to have dropped back a bit off his teammate here, which probably is the safest way to go, quite honestly.
Now here's Marty with more on the troubles suffered by the Toyota team this weekend.
In racing, you always find a weakness somewhere along the way, and you have to be able to adapt. Well, Team Toyota ran into a problem here on Friday. First session out, they blew a motor. The reason was the harmonic damper. This was the version that they had installed in the motor. Now, what was happening was the super long straightaways were forcing the car to run at extended high RPM. This model couldn't handle the load. They went to the larger model, and you see the results right now. They are pumping the field.
With a 4-cylinder 2.1-liter engine, and that, of course, that damper goes on the end of the crankshaft, and the 4-cylinder obviously suffers more from vibration problems than 6s or 8s, so they obviously had a bit of a problem and put the bigger one on and it's cured it.
Certainly appears to be working well now for Juan Fangio. Both he and Jones driving for racing legend Dan Gurney, who has guided Toyota's efforts through sedans and into GTP competition. And Fangio has been there virtually every step of the way. From his first appearance in the United States in the Toyota Celebrity Race at Long Beach, he has had a host of different teammates driving for Dan Gurney. And he told us before the race that it's that tenure that has helped him achieve the success he has this year. Here is the man who would be champion, Fangio.
I was lucky enough to be involved with the team from the very beginning, and I went through all the different situations, all the different steps, and I think that is wonderful when you can have the possibility to go through all that experience with the team. I think you can consider yourself a lucky guy, especially if at the end the results are good like they are right now.
Hard to argue with results. P.J. Jones continues to shadow his teammate. There was some question whether at Portland that Jones ignored team orders not to beat Fangio. He went and took his victory. There is Jeff Brabham running third in a specially designed and built 2.5-liter twin-turbo Nissan engine. 3 seconds faster than he lapped here a year ago, but he can't touch the Toyotas.
No, and as he suspected earlier on, or as he feared, he's having a very lonely race here this afternoon.
Through the carousel and onto the back straight, Jeff Brabham. What a great corner this is. Rocketing through there in 4th gear or so. It is Fangio, Jones, and Brabham. Larori has Porsche in 4th. Bryce Cobb, 5th for Mazda.
This summer, there's electricity in the air because he's back on video cassette. Go now! At the best price ever. Terminator 2, wherever videos are sold.
Now available at Kmart.
And that was dinner for our favorite food critic?
Everything was wonderful.
Something else to drink, monsieur?
Yes. Make it a Bud Light, please.
Sorry, monsieur. We have run out.
Really? Well, that does change things a bit, doesn't it?
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Billy's Chili. Quaint atmosphere.
Is that a tip or did you just lose some change?
Charming service.
It's wild out there. You need a jungle fighter on your side. That's why more and more people choose Toyo tires, the jungle fighters. Toyo tires, driven to perform.
The fastest way to stop athlete's footage. Absorbine Junior. The leading remedy claims relief in 24 hours. Absorbine Junior is guaranteed to take seconds. Absorbine Junior antifungal spray. The fastest, guaranteed.
The Nissan Grand Prix of Road America continues. Round 11 of 13 in the International Motorsports Association Camel GT Championship, which is likely to go to the man in the number 99 Toyota, Juan Fangio, running along in tandem with his teammate, P.J. Jones.
Got back close together again now. P.J. must have had a bit of a slip up before to drop back, but he is very, very close when he doesn't really need to be that close to come second.
Fangio came into this race with a 24-point lead over Davy Jones for the championship. Jones crashed out in the morning warm-up, but Fangio still cannot mathematically clinch even if he wins this race. Now his teammate has peeled off to head for the pits. A scheduled stop, it would appear, for P.J. Jones. Here's Marty Reed.
P.J. Jones comes flying into the Toyota pit. Now, these guys have been practicing pit stops, and remember, back in Portland, it paid off big time for P.J. as his team was able to get him out 4.5 seconds quicker than Juan Fangio's crew. So there's a lot of pride at stake here. The team orders right now are Juan is supposed to take as many points as possible, but P.J. knows he has that hunger. He's got victory number 1. He wants to go for number 2. The tires are in. All they're waiting for is the maximum load of fuel, and P.J. Jones is out of here.
Good point on the speed of that crew, Marty. I mentioned that PJ may have ignored team orders and won at Portland. Actually, he never got those orders, and you may have seen our show and heard Dan Gurney say he didn't know whether to tell PJ to slow down and let Fangio pass him. In fact, it was his pit crew that got PJ out ahead of Fangio, and like any self-respecting race driver, he just put the hammer down and went for it. He comes out ahead of the Camel Lights car of John Grooms and rapidly motors away. Now his teammate should have a pit stop coming up next, and we'll see how quickly the All-American Racers Toyota crew gets their man back out again. B.J. Jones, who has come on so strongly in these high downforce, turbocharged, high-revving race cars. Now back in the pit lane, there is more action, and Marty Reed is standing by.
Now Juan Fangio brings his number 99 Toyota in, and boy, look at these guys go to work. Talk about team pride. This is what it's all about. These guys know that the only real competition they've got at this point is their teammate, P.J. Jones. They want him out of here faster than the number 98 crew was able to get P.J. out. All they're waiting for again, fuel, and then it will be down. He's gone.
A great look there at the new rear wing on these Toyotas. A multi-plane wing developing a tremendous amount of downforce, which is why they have to have all that equipment attached to the front of the car to balance it out. But it certainly is working for them.
Back on the track ahead of the Camel Lights car of Tim McAdam. There is the interval back to the second place car of P.J. Jones. So Fangio and his crew able to get in and out, get the service done, and maintain the lead in the race. It's been interesting over the years to watch how the All-American Racers pit crew work has improved along with the cars and the drivers. A couple of seasons ago at Watkins Glen, a pit mistake prevented Juan Fangio from winning the race. You saw Oscar Larari bring in the Porsche. That promotes this man, Price Cobb in the Mazda, up into 4th place.
Porsche looking a bit slow, getting up on its rear jack there. All that brake dust coming off as the air hoses go to work to take the wheels off. Back to Price Cobb as he goes round turn 6.
You saw Oscar Larari climb out of that car. He would be replaced by John Winter of Bremen, Germany. Good look at Price Cobb there. This is the crew of Reinhold Yost, many-time winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, including one year with this man driving for him, John Winter.
He didn't have such a good year the year I went there with Sorrel von der Merwe. He didn't have a good time after.
There's your 3rd place car, Jeff Brabham, overtaking the Camel Lights machine of Tim McAdam. Price Cobb, meanwhile, back and forth.
Ooh, whistling through that kink there. His car's got a lot of downforce, and listen to that noise just as it hums away to the tree. Sounds great.
This is my vote for the most beautiful car on the circuit. And this Mazda team struggled for so long to bring it into action. There is Jeff Brabham down into the pits, and here's Marty.
Jeff Brabham brings the number 83 Nissan to a stop. It's been a frustrating day for the pit crew. They know their only chance of winning is if something happens to the 2 Toyotas. This will be a standard 4-tire stop, along with the fuel load being put on. There's a good shot of Jeff, and this will get interesting now, guys. Here comes the number 77 of Price Cobb. These cars are battling 3rd and 4th.
Brabham pulls away and goes right by the parked Mazda of Price Cobb. This is proof of how much time a pit crew can save their driver in the pits. Brabham will retain 3rd place. Price Cobb, it appears, will stay in 4th position ahead of his teammate, Pete Halsmer, in 5th.
And those 2 cars, you were saying they're the prettiest cars on the track. They certainly are pretty. And, of course, they were designed by Lee Dykstra, who was responsible for those beautiful Group 44 Jags in the mid-'80s.
Now here's the battle in Camel Lights. Ruggero Melgrati leads Charles Morgan, an Acura Spice over a Buick-powered kudzu chassis. And then Parker Johnstone looking for his 2nd straight Camel Lights championship. Between them, Johnstone and Marvin have won 6 races each this year. No other driver in the class has won more than once, and they're closing in on the class record. 8 victories in a season co-held by Jim Downing, Scott Schubot, and Parker Johnstone, all of them series champions in the years in which they won 8 races.
Well, there you see an idea of the gap as Melgrati goes through 7. The other 2, Morgan and Johnston, just coming through turn 6, so not very far in front.
Juan Fangio leads P.J. Jones and Jeff Brabham. We'll show you the leaders in Camel Lights and be back in a moment.
I've seen hundreds of personal injury cases come through this courtroom, and you'd be amazed at the difference a good attorney can make in the final settlement. If you've been wrongfully injured and need a good personal injury attorney, Call Primex Talking Yellow Pages at 800-777-7776. Primex is a free consumer service that can help you find a good lawyer you can trust. One with experience in your type of accident. One who will help you receive the maximum benefits. Call Primex and put the system to work for you.
Have you ever created or invented a product? Don't just let it sit there. Do something about it. You can start by calling the Inventors Helpline in Washington, D.C. at 800-227-7000. You'll receive free confidential forms and useful information describing the invention process. And when you call right now, you'll also receive a free brochure which tells you how to begin to develop your new idea. So get the ball rolling. Pick up your phone right now and call for your free Inventor's Kit.
Call 800-227-7000. Rise and shine this weekend to ESPN Sunday Sports Day. See the bright spots of the week on Sports Weekly. Then, Dick Schaap focuses a light on major issues with the Sports Reporter. And don't forget ESPN's Shining Star, Sports Center, where you'll see scores, highlights, and previews. Set your alarm to start Sunday mornings with ESPN Sunday Sports Day.
Back in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, in Road America for the Nissan Grand Prix. Here come the first and second place cars, number 99 and 98, Juan Fangio and P.J. Jones. P.J.'s had an interesting weekend. He just earned his pilot's license, so he came early here to Wisconsin to attend the world-renowned Experimental Aircraft Association show at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Now they're about to catch one of the Mazdas with that four-chamber rotary engine that just does not have the top-end speed on the long straightaways that you need at a place like Road America. That's Pete Halsmer, the second of the two Mazdas. Bryce Cobb is in the other just ahead.
PJ looking like he was thinking about going down the inside of Fangio there into turn 5. They swoop up together there. The Mazda's struggling to hold on. It's a bit ironic, I suppose, that the two Toyotas are leading the Nissan Grand Prix, and Nissan, which we see here with Jeff Brabham, 4-time national champion, running in a very lonely third spot today.
He is running 2 seconds a lap faster than he did a year ago, and yet he finds himself constantly losing ground. Only he and Bryce Cobb are on the lead lap with the two Toyotas. These are transitional years for this team that has been by far the most successful outfit in IMSA racing in the last 5 years. At one point, winning nearly half of the races they started. Take a look at Jeff Brabham there. They also had a record 8-race winning streak. And Brabham, of course, with an unprecedented 4 straight Camel GT Drivers Championships.
That V6 2.5-liter Nissan's got a lot of grunt as he came out of turn 5 there. You can hear the old back wheels scrabbling for grip. Very, very fast, sleek car. This 185 miles an hour on here on the straights at Road America.
But it doesn't appear to be enough to take them back to the top in Camel GT racing. After a disastrous weekend at Road Atlanta earlier this year, they cut back to 1 car. And now they say there are big changes in the future for the Nissan team. We'll learn more about that now with Marty Reed in another edition of our IMSA Manufacturers Update.
When the 1992 season began, Nissan had high hopes of winning its 4th straight Manufacturers Championship. But after destroying 2 cars at Road Atlanta and the team out of the points battle, all eyes started pointing towards 1993.
Obviously, this is a very difficult year for us now, so some of the things we're doing during these last races with our old car is some very close and careful testing. We're testing some test equipment, as a matter of fact, which seems to be coming along pretty well. We've taken a hard look at next year. Toyota's obviously changed the benchmark. At first it was the Jaguar, and we said, well, now the benchmark is here, and this is what we have to do to get ahead. And then the Toyota came on stronger, and we've had to change it again. So the car that we're working on a car, and we'll bring it out when it's ready to race, obviously.
So how much different will the new car be from the one you're running now?
Probably a lot. Probably a lot, because here again, that you know, the benchmark has changed, and we've got to come up with it. There's no point in coming up with a new car that's only even. So what we're trying to do is look ahead to what circumstances may be a year from now, or even more than that. And so we're taking, it's a whole new rethink on what we're doing.
Cass Kastner says there are a number of rules he'd like to see changed in IMSA, but to help everyone on the financial side, there is one that sticks out.
The one thing that they can't do is continually go on and say that, well, we're going to slow these cars down to this speed or that speed, because if the cars are no longer spectacular, I mean, they've got to be spectacular cars or nobody's going to care. We're not going to care. And that's the one thing I'm against. So just automatically saying we're going to slow the cars down by doing one thing or another is not a good way. Like, as an example, making the cars heavier and so on. I'm against that.
Well, I think every fan would agree that the cars need to stay spectacular. And still, IMSA has stood by their system of using weight-to-displacement ratios to equalize the incredible variety of machinery that you find in this series.
Well, there is a variety, but boy, they are spectacular this year. The Toyotas at the last two tracks, Laguna Seca and Portland, equaled the current IndyCar lap record. And right here at this long course, Banjo was only 0.7 seconds slower than the outright record set by an IndyCar, so they are fast.
Now we're ready for the first of our pit stops in Camel Lights, a class that is required to make stops. There goes some of the other cars past Charles Morgan into the lead. Let's get caught up now in the Acura Spice pits with Ruggero Melgrati and Wayne Taylor. Here's Marty Reed.
And under IMSA rules, Bob, as you point out, you know, not only do you have to stop, but you do have to make a driver change. So Ruggero Melgrati gets out, Wayne Taylor gets in, and no two drivers are the same. So there's always a bit of a compromise in this car. So this team leading at this current point will surrender the lead, already has, and the number 44 car is already pulling down pit lane. So it's going to be interesting there. You can see the Norwegian Cruise Line's Fermin Velez climbing out. Andy Evans, the team boss and owner, will be climbing in. What's interesting is here we talk about compromises. Velez is 1 foot shorter than Andy Evans, so they have to pull out the specially designed seat. Oh, and they're having trouble on the left front. They can't get the left front wheel off, so this is going to hurt their time in the pits as they're struggling to get that left front tire off of the wheel assembly area from underneath. They finally get it done, Bob, and it looks as though they're just about ready to go. Fuel is already done. In fact, all they're waiting to do is finish cinching up and get the tire back on, and looks like they'll be underway, but boy, they're losing a lot of valuable time.
Not a good pit stop as Fermin Velez turns away. Andy Evans still trying to get himself buckled down. He wears a helmet restraint device over his shoulders that prevents the helmet from turning too far in any direction in the event of a crash. Fermin Velez also has a new piece of equipment this weekend, new driving shoes. He drove at Portland with a pair of Stan Smith tennis shoes on. Andy Evans is now into the car. He is 6th in class. So they have definitely lost ground as the result of a very, very lengthy pit stop. Andy Evans will now have one of the hardest jobs in the race, getting up to speed quickly because he's got some ground to make up. We'll be back.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
Hi. You know why Quaker State asked me to be their spokesman? Because I'm tough. Quaker State is tough. Tough on wear and tough on sludge. You use Quaker State in your new car's engine, they'll guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. Quaker State is one tough motor oil. So naturally they asked me because I'm tough. You don't think it's because they think I'm oily?
Pronto Auto Parts. From coast to coast, your local Pronto Auto Parts store features friendly service and quality auto parts at lower prices.
One oil filter traps 80% more dirt than the leading competitor. Clearly, that's Motorcraft. Motorcraft quality parts from Ford.
When you need to know about auto parts, ask the pro at Pronto.
The 50 yards. Indoor war. The rock and roll fury of arena football. The Arena Bowl, Saturday night on ESPN.
The Camel Lights battle continues at the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. The white car overtaking the blue car is Charles Morgan, leader in the Camel Lights class. There is Parker Johnstone making his way around in second place. Now Morgan goes around his teammate Andy Evans, who's just taken over for Fermin Velez and runs in 6th place in the class. Johnstone will move up and pass as well. Here's the view that Andy Evans has. Watch the left side of your screen. Well, through the carousel, Parker's not likely to want to make the pass.
I thought he might do, actually, because Evans didn't seem to be going through there very fast. He's going to have a go down the inside as they come into the kink. There you see all that rolled up rubber lying off onto the edge of the road there. Don't want to get involved in that stuff. It gets mighty slippery as the race goes on.
Charles Morgan leading. He has already tied an all-time IMSA Camel GT record with a victory in his 8th straight season. All of them in Camel lights.
Andy Evans about to come under the bridge. It's a very tricky part of the course, because as you can see, that left-hand is blind until you get right to here. The road falls off.
Hard on the brakes, downshifting, and then onto the front straightaway here at Road America. 3,600 feet along, and up ahead you see Parker Johnstone peel away, the second place car in class. Charles Morgan disappears down the straightaway. Marty Reed is standing by in the Acura Spice pits. We expect a driver change. Parker Johnstone to Dan Marvin as Charles Morgan disappears around the corner. Here's Marty.
And Parker Johnstone now making his routine pit stop. Newlywed Dan Marvin will get in and take over. That's right, just about a month ago. Dan tied the knot. Right now he's tying the belts on as he's trying to get ready to take over for Parker Johnstone. Now, they will go to work on that lead as, again, on the left front, we're seeing a lot of trouble getting wheels on and put on properly as now they're trying to make sure it doesn't get cross-threaded. And I think he does. I think he's got it cross-threaded on the left front. He could be in trouble here. They are really going to work. Now he's finally got it taken care of.
Dan Marvin from Berkeley, California takes over. He trails his teammate Parker Johnstone by 26 points for the Lights Championship. I think we're pretty safe in saying that should it come down to it, Johnstone will get the nod from the team because he is the lead driver. Dan Marvin has been doing yeoman service as Parker Johnstone's teammate this year. Now there's Charles Morgan in that white number 45 car. Been gone around by the 83 Nissan of Jeff Brabham. We expect a big stop out of Morgan fairly soon, and he will hand over to Floridian Tommy Riggins. There is Dan Marvin running in second place in class. Now let's get back to Marty in the pits.
This is Charlie Morgan as he brings the car to a halt, having trouble getting the door open. Car up on the lifts. The crew goes to work. See if they have more success with the tire changes than some of the others in Camel Lights, including their team car, the number 44. Guys taking their time, and all four wheels are done. This is a much smoother stop, but boy, Tommy Riggins looks like he's having a lot, getting into the car very late as he is just getting the belts put together, and this is going to be costly because the fuel is done, tires are done, and Tommy is nowhere near having the belts on.
And so Tommy Riggins, who began his career in stock cars, takes over. A bit of a problem there in the pits. I don't think he even had his gloves on when the car came down off the jacks.
I can't imagine how he could be caught out so badly. I mean, they've known for 15 minutes when that car's going to come in for its pit stop.
Maybe he was off looking for his gloves or something.
Could be, yeah. But they found that to find his seat too, by the look of things, because he's a bit of a different size to Morgan. He's obviously going very slowly here while he puts those gloves on, by the look of things.
And a Mazda is coming up quickly from behind, along with a Porsche. John Grooms and Frank Jelinek machine just up ahead. One of the Acura Spices. This is Parker Johnstone's teammate, Dan Marvin. Meanwhile, Marty has caught up with Tommy Riggins' teammate, Charles Morgan, to see what went on with that pit stop. Now the car's working.
Looked like a little confusion on the stop. What happened?
Well, Marty, we were running until the fuel light came on, and we've been running so hard, I think we got less fuel mileage than we anticipated, and they were calculating 5 laps, and Tommy was just about to get ready, apparently, and I mean, I came in, and he wasn't ready to go, so we just made a miscalculation on the fuel, but it's going to cost us dearly.
Well, of course, that's the trouble with running out of fuel early, because it's a long lap here, 5 laps. Seems to me to be an awful big miscalculation, so no wonder Tommy Riggins wasn't ready.
It's only 20 miles. Now Dan Marvin has a Mazda coming up quickly behind him. That's the 78 car of Pete Halsmer. And the Mazda rockets around with that incredible whine from the car. One interested spectator got inside the guardrail. Fangio leads over Jones, Brabham, Cobb, and Hallsberg. We'll be right back.
I just came up with a new sandwich. Wendy's Bacon Cheddar Cheeseburger, because I love cheese. And I wrote some slogans. What do you think of this? No? Oh, how about cheddar is better? Get it? Because it's got a quarter pound of fresh beef served hot off the grill, 3 strips of bacon, and cheddar cheese sauce, all on a toasted Kaiser bun. Here's the one I like best. Bacon and cheddar cheese is for me's. Well, I like it.
Try Wendy's new Bacon Cheddar Cheeseburger.
The new Nissan truck has more power and torque than any truck in its class. Yet it gets the best gas mileage of any import brand. The most power and the best gas mileage. How do they do that?
When a muffler goes, some people look for a cheap replacement. They think it costs less. Fact is, they can get a quality Midas muffler starting at $24.95. Fact is, a guaranteed economizer muffler starting at $24.95. Fact is, installed by experts starting at $24.95. So when somebody says they have a cheaper muffler than Midas, they're right. When they say they're better, fact is, they're wrong. Don't believe anybody ever beats Midas.
Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, one of the world's most beautiful and most challenging racetracks, home to the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America, but that race is being dominated by Toyotas. 99 and 98, Juan Fangio and P.J. Jones have been 1-2 since the initial green flag. 2.1 liter turbocharged race cars. They are absolutely spectacular. Now we have more action in the pits. Here's Marty Reed. We've got the 48 car from the Camel Lights class.
Well, this is an unscheduled stop by Wayne Taylor as they are going to take off the back end of this machine and take a look underneath as they have got a problem. And we'll have to check in to see exactly what the problem is, but they are going to work, and it looks like they're going to shut it off. So the Rabbit may have just run out of gas.
Nice pun, Marty. It was gas a year ago that knocked both of these Acura Spices out of the race. They had some kind of tainted fuel, and both Parker Johnstone and Dan Marvin, who were each starting off cars back then, were knocked out of the race. There's a look at the man from Berkeley, California, who has driven well for many years in IMSA Camel GT racing. And it would appear at this point that he and defending series champ Parker Johnstone are the lone remaining Acura Spice in this race. Neat the way the sound of the engines just reverberates off the trees on the long straightaways here at Road America. Looks like maybe the driver's side door was open a crack on that Marvin car. This is a team that has plans to go GTP racing in the future with Acura or Honda. There is Charles Morgan, Tommy Riggins on the number 45 car. Let's get back to Marty in the pits now.
Wayne just taken over just a few laps ago. What happened out there?
Well, I don't know. As soon as I went out, the engine felt flat on our radio to say that people had lost power. And it only did another 2 laps before it really lost all the power, and I thought there was no point in really destroying the engine. So we came in, and it looks like it's pretty terminal.
Well, that's a tough break for the team.
Unusual, too, for that team. The one thing they've got on their side is tremendous reliability. The Acura engine in that car for the last 3 seasons has shown outstanding reliability. But, of course, nothing's perfect. And they've obviously had an engine problem today as the other car continues on its way up to turn 6.
Dan Marvin putting a lap on the car of Tom Hessert and Bob Shader. Hessert, the 1988 Camel Lights champion from New Jersey. Now, Dan Marvin, no doubt, is in communication with the pits by radio to find out what happened to Wayne Taylor's car. And that door is definitely open, and it looks like Marvin is opening it.
That could be he's got some sort of a block vent, and he's getting very hot in there. It is extremely hot here at Elkhart Lake today. 90 degrees ambient. I mean, that means inside the cockpit you're looking at temperatures of probably 130 degrees, because these highly aerodynamic cars, there's just so much air that you can put into it. You can't just pump air into the car because it spoils the aerodynamics.
Marvin leads. You had a look at Tommy Riggins running the second place car. And here's the third place machine being shared by Tim McAdam from Vail, Colorado. Jim Downing, the three-time Camel Lights champion from Atlanta, Georgia, will get in this car when McAdam brings it in. And now there's action in the pits. The leader is in the pits, and it's unscheduled. Marty.
Well, this is a surprise. Juan Fangio brings the Toyota in, and they go back to work quickly, trying to do a quick stop. They caught us out, fellas. I'll guarantee you that. It's a long run from the other end of the pits. But they get the 4 tires changed. They get the fuel in. This will be the last stop for the Toyota as Juan is down and away.
Well, we've heard about fuel miscalculations from the Camel Lights class. I wonder if we're having one here in the GTP ranks as well. He's in a little bit early, I think.
I would say he's in very early, but it must have been some sort of a safety stop because they did, in fact, change tires as well. So they obviously figured on having enough time to do that and put in quite a lot of fuel, so more than just a splash and go. As the 98 car of P.J. Jones now takes the lead here at Road America.
Now, Dan Gurney once again has a decision to make. If he wants his points leader to get back up front and nothing bothers P.J. Jones, Fangio is going to have to find a way around, and Dan is probably going to have to tell P.J. to let Fangio go by.
I'm sure he's going to have to stop at the side of the road for a moment, take a quick break.
Then, on the other hand, there may be another stop in P.J. Jones's future. If Fangio had to stop, Jones will as well, and we'll see whether Fangio can stay close enough to go by when P.J. Jones brings his Toyota into the pits. So, an interesting strategic war developing within the Toyota team. It's an intramural battle at this point in the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. It's a beautiful day. Stay with us. Plenty of action still to come from the Camel GT.
We're almost there. Yeah, 3 years of digging and digging, but soon, our first taste of freedom. Here we are. Push.
What'll it be, boys?
2 Bud Lights, please.
Sorry, fellas, but we're all out.
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
You know, Larry, we really should carry more Bud Light.
He's a government witness who's about to become a target.
I think I've had enough police protection.
Move over, Van Damme and Seagal. Brandon Lee is just as exciting as his father, Bruce Lee. Rapid Fire, rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
It's wild out there. You need a jungle fighter on your side. That's why more and more people choose Toyo tires, the jungle fighters. Toyo tires, driven to perform.
Welcome back to round 11 of 13 in the International Motorsports Association Camel GT Series for 1992. There's the number 98 Toyota Eagle Mark III of P.J. Jones, who won in the most recent round in Portland, Oregon, and could be on his way to a victory again today.
Not part of the Toyota team plan, though. I think they really need Fangio to win this race and try and lock this championship up before we go to the 2 rounds in Phoenix and Del Mar. Great aerodynamic car, this. It's very snub-nosed, with a very sharp pitch to that nose, and it's also got an awful lot of accoutrement attached to the front there to make the air do its work as it goes over and under this car.
There's the second place car of Juan Fangio, who just made a very early second pit stop. It's going to be interesting to see if he can go the rest of the way on the load of fuel that's now in that car. Now let's get down to the pits where Marty Reed has more action.
2 cars coming into the pits as the Momo Porsche flies by, and here comes P.J. Jones to a stop for his second and final pit stop of the afternoon. Crew going to work, and the rules, as you know, are for him to let Juan score as many points as possible. It'd be interesting to know if we can find out if he was quicker like he was at Portland, because so far he has stayed in lockstep with his teammate, and he is out of here.
Another great pit stop by the All-American Racers team. Now all eyes will look to their left to find Juan Fangio. He's on the straightaway. And up over the brow of the hill, there is Juan Fangio. So P.J. Jones gets his second stop in and retains the lead.
It was...
Whoa, the Acura spices off. This is the leader in the Camel Lights class, Dan Marvin. You see the driver's side door now completely jacked open. Now there goes Tommy Riggins. He will move into the lead in that Buick Kudzu, teamed with Charles Morgan, as they look for their second victory of the year. But obviously a violent spin there for Dan Marvin.
That was down at turn 2, and that was the door that you were talking about. Here we see it again. Boy, oh boy, he jumps right off the road there. That didn't do that chassis much good either.
There's a large gravel trap just off that corner to slow the cars down. Looked like the nose got in the air, and Dan Marvin came very close to flipping it. He appears to be all right as he unhooks himself from the machine. No fire. And that means both Acura Spices are out of the race. They came into this race with a 20-point lead over Buick in the Manufacturers Championship as our race leader, P.J. Jones, goes around the Camel Lights leader, Tommy Riggins. So this race could have a very big impact, certainly will in the Camel Lights Manufacturers race. Parker Johnstone had a 26-point lead over Dan Marvin and a 47-point lead, make that 48-point lead over third place Fermin Velez for the Lights Drivers Championship. So it'll be interesting to see how the point standings are changed at the end of this one.
So he's relatively okay so far, because at the moment it's Morgan and Tommy Riggins who are leading the leading the class here this afternoon. Both Acura Spices are out, but not time to panic yet for Parker Johnston. But obviously at this stage of the season, you want to score as many points as you possibly can.
Now there is Tim McAdam. This car has now moved into second because of that accident suffered by Dan Marvin. They made a stop very, very early in this race and did not change drivers. Now they'll make the required driver change. Andy Evans in third could be looking for second if he can get around to the start-finish line before Jim Downing can get in and get back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, he's just he's just one corner away now and a bit of straightaway. So there we see the Tim McAdam car still in the pit.
Jim Downing climbs in. Once again, a big height differential between the two drivers. Downing away. And we'll see whether Andy Evans can get there. Downing checking his mirrors, pulls out. There goes Price Cobb in one of the Mazdas. And there on the right of your screen in the blue car is Andy Evans. Can Jim Downing get up to speed quickly enough to hold him off?
Doesn't look like it. Andy Evans goes round the outside, makes a good outside pass at turn 1, and streaks off down to turn 2. He's warmed up. The car's warmed up. Now he wants to put a bit of daylight between himself and Jim Downing in that car to try and hang on to second spot.
So in the space of a few moments, we have a huge juggling in the top three in Camel Lights. The Marvin Johnstone car that was leading is out. Up into second place goes Andy Evans and Fermin Velez. And into first place in the class, Tommy Riggins and Charles Morgan. So now the Norwegian Cruise Line sponsored team runs first and second. At one point in this race, they were no better than third and fifth.
Sun starting to go down as you go up to turn 6 here, the corner on the left of the screen there. As you come up to this corner at this time of the afternoon, the sun is really bright, and as the screens get pitted and oiled up, the visibility definitely goes down. 98 still holds the lead from the number 99 car. Fangio catching him up now.
99 Fangio begins to close and close. There's PJ. There is Fangio. Fangio nearly took this car to a victory in its maiden race at Laguna Seca last season, but because of a pit infraction, running a red flag at the end of the pits, he was brought in for a stop-and-go penalty that cost him the victory. Just a couple of weeks later in Portland, Oregon, he did bring the car its first victory in only its second race. They have been a magic pairing ever since. Juan's going to need a little magic. He's going to overcome his teammate, P.J. Jones, now, however. Stay with us.
I got the job.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, who told you about the National Business Employment Weekly? Who told you there's hundreds of high-paying jobs open all across the country? Professional, technical, managerial.
I thought I told you about it. How the articles help you get a job. Write sharper resumes. Have better interviews.
No. I told you, remember? How to get along with your boss, get a raise, get promoted.
Let me see. You told me about the great jobs in the National Business Employment Weekly.
And the help in landing them. And doing better on the job.
So I really owe my new job to you?
Well.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Get the National Business Employment Weekly at your newsstand, or order by credit card and get 8 issues by first-class mail for $35. Call 800-372-3000. 800-372-3000, the National Business Employment Weekly.
Don't make a career move without it.
The pennant chase is in your face on ESPN. See our Tuesday night twin bills, Wednesday night excitement, Friday night doubleheader, and America's Game of the Week, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Sunday night, the Cardinals and the Braves are in your face. Terry Pendleton leads the first-place Braves against Ozzie Smith and the Cardinals live on America's Game of the Week, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, the Toyota's still running 1 and 2, but in a different order. It is P.J. Jones now ahead of teammate Juan Fangio. And you've got to wonder what's going on in the Toyota pits. Fangio is the man with a shot at the championship. P.J. has been mathematically eliminated, but you can't tell a driver, particularly a son of Parnelli Jones, that he's got to slow down and let somebody go by.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, son of Parnelli Jones. Parnelli, one of the toughest drivers in the 60s. And BJ, of course, has had an absolutely meteoric rise to the top. I mean, here's a guy that didn't do any Camel lights, didn't seem to do much sophomore work. Suddenly here he is right at the peak of TTP racing in the winning team. Winning the last race.
Incredible sweep through that corner, and they had to pass that slower car in the midst of doing it. It makes you hold your breath. Looks like Juan has an idea. First he looked down the outside, then down the inside.
Well, now these two guys don't want to go losing their heads at this stage. They go. Otherwise, old Jeff Rabbit may have yet another win.
Well, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Here comes Jeff Brabham, the 4-time Camel GT champion, showing no ill effects after his huge crash here at Road America a year ago that broke a rib. He is in 3rd place, and should anything happen to those Toyota teammates up ahead, Jeff Brabham might well move right up.
Talking to the Toyota teammates, there we see them going down the front straight. About 185, 190 miles an hour. Fangio right up with P.J. Jones now. I'm sure that Jones will have to let him through eventually, but he might put up a bit of a struggle first. He wants to certainly look good, and obviously he'd love to win the race. But I think the way the team tactics are going to work, they're going to really have to give this race to Fangio. But P.J. Jones, son of Parnelli Jones, one of the toughest drivers in the 60s, and he pulls up alongside now. Jones sort of moved over just a little bit there. Fangio got alongside the inside of him as they come down to turn 5. Neck and neck, though. Ooh, Fangio there, locked up the rears. You can hear them scratching away, and just a bit bumpy on the approach to that corner.
And you see both drivers coming back helmet in hand to Dan Gurney and say, well, coach, sorry.
See, this is what happened, Dan. It was actually pretty well organized, but...
And so Juan Fangio reasserts himself, moves back into the lead, back with a possible shot at his first Camel GT championship. Should he take all 20 points for the victory, he will have an extra bonus point for pole. There is another bonus point for leading the most laps and a bonus point for doing all 3. But that would still leave Juan Fangio 1 point short of clinching that championship. Now we've got more action in the pits. Here comes a Mazda, Marty.
Prix brings the Mazda in for his final stop. This will be gas and go only, as they are going to try and make up some time. This is a time stop. The fuel, he's ready. Question is, will they let him go now?
And a time stop is a nice piece of strategy for this team. It's a very light car because the engine is not terribly powerful by Camel GT standards, maybe a mere 650 horsepower or so. But as a result, it is very easy on its tires.
It's easy on its tires. It's a bit heavy on fuel, actually, funny enough. But you can see some of it coming out the side of the car there on the downshift. But they certainly just down the part, don't they?
Just like the engine. In fact, it is the engine that won the 24 Hours of Le Mans a year ago. Good look at the Toyota teammates on the lead, coming through the heat haze here on the front straightaway. Singing through the first corner. There is Fangio.
Coming down to the corner where poor old Dan Marvin had an unfortunate demise. I must have been around that corner 500 times. I never realized it was quite so serious if you dropped off the edge there. Be careful that in the future, right?
Now through the tree-shaded section in the middle of the racetrack. Fangio pulling out a little bit of a lead now over the 98 car of teammate P.J. Jones. Now let's get back to Marty in the pits.
The battle of the pit crews will continue as Jeff Brabham brings the 83 Nissan to a halt in third place. Price Cobb of the Mazda team did a gas and go only. That will not be the case for the number 83 Nissan, as they will change all 4 tires. The fuel is done. All they got to do is get the brand new tires put on and put him down. He's out of here.
Amazing how technology shifts the balance of power in Camel GT racing. Nissan dominant for so long. Then Jaguar brought out their new car this year and upped the technological ante. They dominated for a few races. Then Toyota came up with all of the right combinations for their cars. They're looking for their 3rd straight 1-2 finish here at Road America. Who knows what's next? You heard Nissan's Kaz Kasner mention their new car is rapidly working into its development program.
When the Jaguar came along, the XJR14, based on last year's world champion sports car, everybody thought it was going to annihilate the field, but they just seem to have lost their way somewhere down the way.
Amazing progress of technology. Here comes one of the Mazdas. This is Price Cobb, a past winner at this track in a Porsche, driving for Dyson Racing a few years ago. One of 3 active winners still in the running: Jeff Brabham, Price Cobb, and John Paul Jr. We'll be back for more from Road America.
I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quaker State. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quaker State and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
The Volvo International, a midsummer showdown of the world's greatest shock makers taking aim at a key U.S. Open tune-up. The Volvo International continues through Sunday on ESPN.
Track Facts are brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
All season long, we've seen where the IMSA GTP cars are running quicker than the Indy cars. Now, Al Unser Jr., who has driven both at Portland, said the reason for this is brakes. IMSA allows the use of carbon composites. CART does not. That means in IMSA, you have a carbon rotor and the use of carbon pads. The first key area of savings is in weight. That's the carbon cousin. Here's the old steel monster, 11 pounds heavier, and you can see just how heavy it really is. The second area of savings, you can stop much quicker, 30% quicker. That means drivers can go deeper into the corners. Price Cobb of the Mazda team told us simply, he says, if my belts aren't tightened, I come right out of the seat.
Okay, thanks, Marty. There is one other difference. The carbon composite brakes cannot be used again, so you need more of them. They're more expensive than steel brakes, so they're a much bigger line item expense in your budget.
Plus, these cars develop a lot more downforce than Indy cars, so you can use the brakes harder anyway.
There are the Toyotas who are on carbon brakes here, but they may have a problem in another department. Here's Marty Reed.
Dan Gurney's got a problem, guys. Juan Fangio's crew did not get enough fuel in that last stop into the car. He is going to have to make another stop, and it means he's got a dilemma. What does Gurney do? Well, we talked to him. He says he's probably going to bring both cars in.
Ooh, not much time left for that. Here's the standings in the lights class. Tommy Riggins over Andy Evans and Jim Downing. All Buick-powered kudzu chassis out of Jim Downing's shop in Atlanta, Georgia. Designed by Sam Garrett. They are great little chassis. Downing has a new one coming out. He says it won't be as radical as the difference between the first 2 iterations of the kudzu. These Buicks are also running at 3.4 liters of displacement, bigger than the Acura's 3 liters, in order to try to give them a leg up and keep the performance playing field level. It has certainly worked here. Both Acuras out of the race. Buick with a 1-2-3 finish potentially. There is Jim Downing, the 3-time Camel GT, Camel Lights champion, I should say. running in third position, about to challenge Andy Evans, it would appear, for second.
Very much about to challenge him by the look of things. They swoop through turn 2 there. Now the thing is he going to tuck himself under the wing as they go along the straight? Andy Evans will go into top gear about there. There he goes, and any minute now you just could see the kudzu come swooping down the inside. There he goes.
Yep. Jim Downing goes down the inside to take over second in the class.
Pull up the hill. Into turn 6, hard on the brakes under the bridge. This is always very slippery, this corner here, and it gets slippery as the race goes on.
Cars coming over the hill get quite light. Of course, that affects the efficiency of the braking.
Slight downhill run here to turn 8. Another very slow corner, very hard on the brakes. Probably use a second, third maybe at this time of the race when the car is running light on fuel. Into the carousel, where Davey had the off this morning. As you can see, just no runoff area on the left there at all. I mean, the tyres are just a couple of feet back from the edge of the road.
Downing begins to pull away a little bit. Now Jeff Brabham with the red, white, and blue 83 car comes rocketing past the 44 of Andy Evans.
Of course, the GTP cars are quicker through that kink, the fastest corner on the track here, because they just generate more downforce because of their superior speed.
Well, what a rags to riches story these guys have been. Tommy Riggins and Charles Morgan almost blew their pit stop entirely, dropped out of the lead, but thanks to that crash suffered by Dan Marvin, they're back out front and running away. Marty Reed is standing by with Charles Morgan.
What a difference a few minutes makes. I mean, the last time we talked, it looked like everything was over, and all of a sudden, here you are right back in it.
Yeah, you notice I'm happier now. Tommy's really doing well, and we hate for the misfortune of anybody. I think we really would like to beat the Acura, heads up, but I think we did a good job of running them in the ground today. We really made them drive for it today, and I believe that if we can hold all this together here, we're going to have a nice finish here.
Yeah, I think I could tell that Charles Morgan was a little happier. Meanwhile, in the GTP category, Juan Fangio leads P.J. Jones and Jeff Brabham, but we've already heard Marty Reed tell us that Fangio is in fuel trouble. And the question is, will they just bring in Fangio for a splash? He will obviously lose the lead to P.J. Jones, obviously will not get within a point of that championship today, and may affect Toyota's chances of clinching the manufacturer's title here today. The option? Bring both guys in. Down they go through the kink. As David mentioned, the car is just blindingly quick through here. Now 98 Jones begins to pull up a little bit on Fangio.
He's not giving up, is he? I mean, he just wants to make everybody aware that he could win this race if he would be allowed to. The 83 car of Jeff Brabham.
Brabham still holding station in third place in the Nissan. And the Toyotas are in, Marty.
Well, this is the dilemma when you're the team boss and your number 99 lead car doesn't get enough fuel. What they do is they bring both cars in at the same time for a splash and go, even though the 98 doesn't really need the fuel. They want to make sure that they don't have a repeat of Portland.
And you saw the crew chief on the 98 car holding him there till he looked over his shoulder and made sure that Fangio was gone, and then they let PJ go.
Well, that was a great pit stop, but of course it begs the question, what does it do to Jeff Brabham? How far behind them is he? Is he going to be able to make up some time there on that pit stop?
Fangio now begins to pull away from his teammate after Dan Gurney made really the only decision he had in order to preserve Juan Fangio's chances of winning the title, the manufacturer's championship for Toyota, and keeping P.J. Jones in with a legitimate chance of winning it on his own.
What's so daring about new Prism car polish? It's not how you put it on, but how you take it off.
Introducing new Prism car polish. It's the first and only spray-away approach to car polishing. Just wipe it on and spray it off. And in half the time, you get a durable shine. No huffing, no puffing, no buffing. New Prism, the only spray-away car polish.
They ate the same lunch, got the same heartburn, but his antacid is very different. His Tums has calcium. Most antacids don't. Regular Rolaids uses an aluminum salt. This uses aluminum and magnesium. So does this. Of all these, only Tums helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium you need every day.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
Calcium-rich Tums. That's the one you want.
Coming up on SportsCenter, Jose and the A's bash back at the Yanks. We get a close-up view of the latest Big Mac attack and a bird's-eye view of the Falcons. Join me, Linda Cohn, and Chris Myers on SportsCenter, 11:30 Pacific.
Into the waning laps of the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. Bob Barsha, David Hobbs, and Marty Reed with you. There's the second-place car of P.J. Jones chasing his Toyota teammate Juan Fangio, and they have just lapped third-place Jeff Brabham right there in the red and blue car, leaving the Toyotas 1-2 on the lead lap, looking for an unprecedented third straight 1-2 finish.
Yeah, it's been a great afternoon's entertainment, but I do find it absolutely astonishing that Jaguar, who have put so much money and effort into this series and really had it locked up until 2 races ago, didn't send a spare car for David to drive. And of course, exactly what you don't want to go wrong went wrong this morning. If he had a spare car, he could have been in that this afternoon. But it's been a good race for these two guys, and Jeff Brabham still hanging on there in third place. It's not over yet, and anything can go wrong in racing. It certainly is never over till it's over. You can ask Nigel Mansell that, you know.
Getting back to the decision by Dan Gurney to pit both cars together, it's really Dan taking the decision on his shoulders, saying, look, PJ is out there to win the race, but I'm going to call him in. I'm going to make him stay in second place. Prevents him from telling PJ, slow down on the racetrack. But they are now 1-2. PJ may win this thing yet.
Going around Pete Halsmer in the 78 Mazda.
Wondered before about what might be the next mark to step up in Camel GT racing. Keep your eye on those Mazdas. They're putting a lot of effort into that team, and they could be very strong before too long.
More variety in IMSA racing than pretty well anything else. These two cars here, 4-cylinder, 2.14 turbocharged liters. Smallest engine in the race, the most powerful. Behind them, the 4-rotor Mazda. Behind that, the V6 2.5 liter Nissan. And of course, the Jaguar, when it's running, 3.5 liter normally aspirated V8. Tremendous variety of engines.
We're on the final lap. Juan Fangio looking for his 6th victory of the year. The third 1-2 for the Toyota team. It would be the 13th career Camel GT victory for Juan Fangio.
Playing with fire there, getting under the 44 car's nose, because we've already seen that he's having trouble with his brakes.
Andy Evans was the 3rd place and is the 3rd place car in Camel Lights. Just ahead, Jim Downing, 2nd place in Camel Lights. Through the kink, one last, oh, and gosh, PJ got very close to Jim Downing's car there.
Bouncing down into Canada corner.
Slower traffic looming ahead. Frank Jelinek in that green Camel Lights machine. Gently, boys, gently.
Jelinek staying well out of the way to the right, although it's hard to stay out of the way there, quite honestly. It's not very wide.
Once more, over the brow of the hill, onto the front straightaway, and under the flag stand to accept checkers. Juan Fangio, Toyota, P.J. Jones, and Dan Gurney's All-American Racers Toyota team. There's Dan on the left. Marty Reed will make his way over, see if he can get a comment from the great man, as Juan Fangio and P.J. Jones take their victory lap together. There is Tommy Riggins, sealing Charles Morgan's 2nd victory of the year and 15th of his career. Here's Marty.
I'm sure you're probably aware of this, but that just clinched the manufacturer's crown for you.
We are, and well, that's a terrific feeling.
I thought the line was, oh, what a feeling.
You got it. Oh, what a feeling.
Can you jump? I mean, you know, we were always wanted to...
Wait a minute.
It looked like PJ was thinking about passing him that last couple of laps, but obviously he followed orders.
Yeah, he did. He agreed beforehand. He understands it, and but I think today Juan had him covered a little bit on just pure ability speed-wise. But as you can see, this is the first. Well, what's that? The 3rd time? Holy smoke! Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Marty. Sure.
And another page in the history book for Dan Gurney, who has now won championships both in sedan racing and prototype category in the International Motorsports Association. We'll be back for more in just a moment.
You want good service? And RES PECT? Well, Mickey D's is the place.
we guarantee we'll serve you ASAP and without an attitude. And at the drive-thru, we'll double-check your order so you won't have to. We'll treat you like a VIP because we want you to be satisfied. But if something's wrong with our service, we'll make it right, or your next meal's on us. Hot, fast, friendly, and double-checked. That's what you want, that's what you get. Guaranteed.
I don't need some fancy aftershave to tell me I'm a man. And I don't need some expensive cologne to make time with the ladies. I use Skin Bracer. It smells great. It also cools my skin, tones it up, and takes care of it after a good close shave. I don't need anything more. Confidence is very sexy, don't you think?
Skin Bracer Aftershave, more than a great scent.
By men.
To unlock your body's potential, we proudly offer Soloflex. 32 old-fashioned iron-pumping exercises, each correct in form and balance, all on a simple machine that fits in the corner of your home. For a free brochure, call anytime.
You're watching ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, one International Motorsports Association title has been clinched, 2 more virtually so, and 1 more remains very much in doubt. ESPN Speedworld coverage of the Nissan Grand Prix from Road America has been brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. Here's Marty Reed with our winner.
I don't know if you realize it. You haven't mathematically clinched the Drivers' Championship, but you got a stranglehold on it now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely happy. That was a wonderful teamwork. I mean, everybody was working for this. And, you know, I'm very grateful to Toyota, All-American Racing. The full team was doing fantastic.
Did you miss a beat at all? What happened on that earlier stop when you caught everybody, including us, running down pit lane?
You know, it was started missing a little bit, and I called to the guys and said, guys, it's missing, so I came into the pit, put gasoline, and everything after that, it was perfect.
Congratulations, great job.
Thank you very much. I want to...
Well done, I think that says it all, guys.
Wonderful.
I think you're right, Marty. That says it all. Dan Gurney with Juan Fangio. Here's a look at the points. Just 1 point away from clinching the championship. Juan Fangio, a lock for the Drivers' Championship over a terrific season for Davy Jones and the 4-time series champ, Jeff Brabham. In the Manufacturers' Championship, Toyota clinches its first ever GTP Manufacturers title. Now let's get back down to winner's circle. Marty Reed is with our Camel Lights winners.
Charles Morgan and Tommy Riggins are the winners in Camel Lights, and I got to get your version of this driver change because I don't think I've ever seen either one of you run so fast.
That was called the Morgan surprise. He was like a woman that delivered early. We weren't ready. But we just weren't ready for him. And it became a Keystone Cops caper there for a minute. But fortunately, we recovered, and I think things went well. Charles worked out a big enough lead that we were able to overcome that, I think.
This really tightens things up for the old points battle for manufacturers and drivers as well. So with 2 races to go, what do you do from here for an encore?
Well, our strategy is to win all the last 3. We feel, you know, really starting at Portland that we had the car that could win the races, and we kind of threw it away at Portland with some mechanical problems. I think we've come here this weekend and demonstrated that our, you know, Buick-powered cars are absolutely able to cope with the Acuras and the horsepower chassis, and I think we're going to do well the last 2 races.
I think it's going to be a dogfight. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations indeed to Charles Morgan and Tommy Riggins. Here's a look at the drivers' points at Camel Lights. Parker Johnstone with a 27-point lead over his teammate Dan Marvin, but more importantly, a bigger lead over Fermin Velez. Johnstone a virtual lock for the title. But in the Manufacturers' Championships, just 6 points separates Acura and Buick. A look at our overall standings. Juan Fangio and P.J. Jones, and an historic 1-2 for Toyota. David, quite a race.
Well, it was an absolute demonstration of advanced technology. Those cars were just paralyzing and fast as all get out around this wonderful track.
2 races to go in the 1992 season. You'll see both of them here on ESPN from Phoenix and from Del Mar, California. I'm Bob Barsha for David Hobbs and Marty Reed. Thanks for being with us, and so long from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
Otherwise, you're okay?
Yeah, it's just, it's real disappointing, you know. It's Lime Rock all over again, and you know, we felt that we had a very good car, good race car, and you know, we needed to win this race to keep in hopes for the championship, and, you know, so that's that.
I was going to ask you if this was similar to Lime Rock suspension piece let go.
Well, it's really hard to say just what it was at this point, but, you know, for me, it was just an instant replay of what happened at Lime Rock, so.
Went away so fast you had no chance to recover.
Yeah, just, you know, you going through a carousel like that, it's 4th gear, and you know, all the load is on the left front, and when something breaks, you have nowhere to go except, you know, straight off the track. So.
And so the field rolls off for a very different kind of race, lacking one of the chief protagonists for the 1992 title. With me to provide analysis today, a man who has won this race twice before, ESPN road racing analyst David Hobbs. David, what's going through Juan's mind now, knowing Davey is out?
Well, you know, fun enough, Bob, I think it's going to make it worse rather than better, because it's kind of like getting a pit signal halfway through a race when you're racing with somebody, you know, heavy. He's suddenly gone, and the pit signal comes out and says easy. From that moment on, the last thing it gets is easy, because you suddenly start hearing noises, and it's easy to make mistakes, because as you ease off and tend not to drive at your absolute peak of concentration, that's when things start to go wrong. So it could be a bit of a tough afternoon for Fangio instead of a real breeze.
Well, we'll watch what happens. Let's turn for a moment to the Camel Lights class. We'll be racing simultaneously with the big GTP cars. Parker Johnstone, with his 12th straight pole in class, could be closing in on another title.
Well, he's certainly looking very strong, Bob, but I think that's where we're going to see a lot of the action this afternoon, because quite frankly, P.J. Jones and Fangio in the 2 Toyotas, I think, are going to disappear away from Jeff Brabham. And we could have a big race this afternoon in that Camel Lights division. They usually do put a pretty good show on. I don't see why they won't here.
Now, while the cars are on the track warming tires and engines, it's a good opportunity to take a closer look at one of the most awesome circuits in all the world, Road America, courtesy of Fermin Velez and the Norwegian Cruise Line Scania Buick Kudzu.
As he goes past the start-finish line, coming down into turn 1 in the Camel Light car, doing about 150 miles an hour, down to 4th gear. Nice tight apex you on here. Trying not to kick up too much dirt on the outside.
Lineup with the help of our Sears Die-Hard starting grid. On the pole, Juan Fangio, the man who would be champion with a record lap 4 seconds under the old mark. Next to him is Toyota teammate P.J. Jones, who won the most recent round at Portland, Oregon. On row 2, Davy Jones will not start, so Jeff Brabham, the former 4-time series champion, will be all alone. On row 3, Tommy Kendall is back in the Chevrolet GTP after a 1-race absence. Next to him, Prix Cobb in a newly redesigned Mazda, new aerodynamics at the rear of the car. On row 4, Oscar Larari sharing with John Winter in a Porsche 962. Next to them, Pete Halsmer in the 2nd Mazda GTP. On row number 5, Gianpiero Moretti of Italy will start his Porsche co-driving with former series champion John Paul Jr. Next to them, the Camel Lights pole sitter Parker Johnstone co-driving with Dan Marvin on their 12th straight pole. They'll have their teammates, Ruggero Melgrati and Wayne Taylor, in another car trying to keep the Camel Lights field at bay. Charles Morgan and co-driver Tommy Riggins will have a Buick-powered kudzu machine next to Fermin Velez, the former world champion in these types of cars, co-driving with Andy Evans. Tim McAdam will share with former 3-time Camel Lights champion Jim Downing on row 7. On row 8, Bob Shader and 1988 Camel Lights champion Tom Hessert, alongside John Grooms and Frank Jelinek in a Mazda-powered kudzu chassis. Our onboard camera rides along with Fermin Velez back in 13th starting spot, and the high speeds of this track have really separated the lights from the GTP cars, David Hobbs.
Absolutely. Between the fastest light and the pole position, there's nearly 20 mile an hour difference in the average speed, so they're going to have 2 very separate races this afternoon. The Toyotas side by side there going into turn 1.
Touching down into the first corner. And Fangio takes the lead. There's Oscar Larori in the white Porsche, slotting just ahead of Tommy Kendall, dropping back in the Chevy.
Oscar Larori qualified well in what is now pretty much of an outdated car, really.
You see the Camel Lights cars jockeying. On board again with Fermin Velez, trying to make his way up. He's right on the tail of one of the Acura Spices.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought he'd slip under the wing there and draft his car all the way down to the turn 5 corner. See there, the Spice pulling away just a little bit on one of these key straights here at Elkhart Lake. 3 of them, really, which are all very long, very fast. Hard on the brakes, down a second.
Start your engine.
As a boy with racing dreams calls the engines to life at Road America, a man who once dreamed those dreams, Juan Fangio, could be about to see his come true. With victories in 5 of the first 10 races of the year, Fangio has carried his Toyota team into the lead for the IMSA Camel GT Championship. A competitor's race day misfortune has brought those dreams one step closer to reality. For Fangio and team owner Dan Gurney, history awaits. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speedworld. Road America in the hills of central Wisconsin hosts the potentially clinching round of the 1992 Camel GT Championship, the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. Here in the heart of Wisconsin vacation country, it is a steamy 90 degrees, and that will make this track both hot and slippery. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha. Welcome once again to our highlighted coverage of the International Motorsports Association. The Camel GT Series arrived here on the shores of Elkhart Lake, anticipating a one-on-one shootout for the 92 title between Juan Fangio and Davy Jones, the man who held the points lead until round 9 in Laguna Seca, California. That will not happen. In the warm-up for today's race on one of the fastest parts of the circuit, Jones suffered a left front wheel failure that pitched his Jaguar off the racetrack, over the guardrail, and very nearly into the trees. A very scary moment indeed. It's not the first time Jones has had wheel trouble. It happened at Lime Rock, Connecticut on Memorial Day weekend, and it's not the first time Jones's title hopes came awry here at Road America. A year ago, while leading this race, Jones spun off the track and dropped into a 3-way battle for the title that he eventually lost to 4-time champion Jeff Brabham. Jones was taken to the infield hospital and released, after which he talked with our pit reporter for today's race, Marty Reed.
First off, I noticed the ice pack. What's the damage?
Well, it's just, you know, the seat belts, they did their job, and you know, usual, if you have a heavy impact like that, it just you know, gets your muscles in your shoulders. But ice pack, a few Motrin, to be all right.
And by Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor world. We'll be back to introduce the starting grid when we return to Elkhart Lake.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
You know, I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quaker State. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quaker State and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
Move over Van Dam and Seagal. Brandon Lee has arrived. Brandon Lee is just as exciting, intense, and charismatic as his legendary father, Bruce Lee. The Rapid Fighter.
Are you having a bad day or what?
Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Son of a gun protectant. Nothing works better on your car's leather, vinyl, and rubber
it can turn just about anything into a great-looking car.
Nice car.
What, this pile of junk? Give it the gun. STP's son of a gun.
Back in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Bob Barsha, David Hobbs, and Marty Reed with you for the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America. Now let's take a look at our starting.
Downhill run here to turn 2. Hangs on to 4th. This is a very important corner because it leads on to this central straightaway. You'll take 5th going under the bridge here. Up to maximum speed again. Again, the road going slightly downhill as it goes into the trees. And this is where the guys are going to be lining up to do any out-braking as they come into the notorious turn 5. Boom, hard on the brake, down to 2nd gear. Wheels just on the point of locking. Missed the apex there a little bit, actually. Snatches 3rd as he goes up to 6th, uphill, over the top, back 2nd to 6th. Another one you want to make a tight apex. You'll short shift here into 4th. Right here before 7, because otherwise you're right on the edge of the engine as you're trying to go to the corner. Down into turn 8, another place where we may well see some overtaking. Now it's leading into the awesome carousel. This is where Davy Jones went off this morning. You can see how little road there is on the left. So I mean, just lifting out a little bit there, I would have thought the Camel light might have been able to hang right in there. A lot of G-forces going to that corner. Really developed some heavy, heavy G-load. Now the King. Here, did not lift hardly at all. Absolutely flat stick through there, probably in his car, about 130 miles an hour as he goes along the bottom straight, feel the trees and how close they are to the track. When I first race here, no guardrail. Hard on the brakes to Canada corner. 3rd gear. Under the bridge. Very dangerous corner. It's blind. As you exit, he'll go right to the edge of the road. A lot of people put a wheel on the dirt there as he comes into the last corner, turn 14. Again, you've got to make a good shot of this one because you've got a long, long uphill straight and you can have some overtaking going into turn 1. You really want to come onto this straight strongly.
David mentioned the speeds the Camel Lights cars like this one will hit. Keep in mind the GTP machines will be edging over 180 miles an hour, and speed differential between the two classes is what the Camel GT series is all about. Stay with us. Green flag coming up next. Our ESPN Speedworld coverage of the Nissan Grand Prix of Road America is brought to you by Toyo Tires. No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z. Toyo Tires.